Welcome to another episode of Fact Finders, where we delve into the truth behind the headlines and explore the complexities of misinformation in our world today. I am your host, Fatimah Quadir. As Donald Trump embarks on his second term as the 47th President of the United States, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment for information resilience and media credibility. In this episode, we will discuss how Trump's presidency has historically impacted the landscape of fact-checking and media trusts, particularly in light of recent changes at major social media platforms, with experts warning about the potential for increased disinformation and the fragmented public trust in verified information sources. We'll examine what this means for journalists, fact-checkers, and the general public. Stay tuned as we unpack these critical issues, hear insights from an industry professional, and explore strategies for navigating this challenging information ecosystem. With me to talk about this is Temilade Onilede. Temilade is an accomplished project manager at Dubawa, Nigeria, with an extensive experience in fact-checking. Welcome, Temilade.
Thank you for having me on the show.
What do fact-checking means to you? Can you just explain briefly?
When we talk about fact-checking, we mean verifying a piece of information. We mean the accuracy of a certain information. We mean checking to know the fact, checking to know if that information or the news is accurate. That's basically what it means. Checking sources, knowing the facts, knowing what this is. Is this accurate? Is this true? Yes, that's just what basically fact-checking implies.
Okay, so with recent changes in Meta, so how do you think Donald Trump's presidency has influenced public trust in media and fact-checking?
The news was a new year blow for me in person. So,
I can imagine.
I mean, the first week of the new year, you get to hear that one of the most important technological platform is, cutting or stopping a certain initiative that has been running for 6 years or 7 or more, and it's due to a new law or a new
change in government.
A new change in government. I mean, it was quite disheartening, but we move. However, Meta has been partnering with a lot of fact-checking organizations to verify misinformation, disinformation for the past few years. And, Meta has Facebook, Meta has Instagram, Meta has Thread, Meta has WhatsApp. So, Meta is a very vital technological platform across the world. Trump's decision to, come in at this certain point has a political underlining, and I mean, Zuckerberg trying to say, okay, let's, stop the third-party fact-checking program now is, of course, we know that that's actually politically inclined. It's not politically inclined anyways. And, it was a shocker because a lot of us have been partnering with Meta to fact-check information for the past few years. And then coming to hear that, all of a sudden, this is going to be a halt. This is no more going to happen. So then what happens to the misinformation landscape that we've been trying to sanitize for the past few years? So what happens next? I know that with the help of fact checkers that have been doing this work of verification on the Meta platforms, it has actually helped in subduing misinformation and disinformation, most especially on these platforms. But now that is no more, I mean, it's a blow on the fact-checking organization, it's a blow on fact-checkers, on researchers across the world. And to me, I feel like it's just like we were 100 pace forward, but now we were like, no, I don't want to say back to zero, but in a way, that's what it actually implies, that we're back to square one.
Trying to get square one. You made some vital points. So, shifting from that, so what are some specific examples where fact-checking has played a vital role during political campaigns? Like you noted, the main reason for Meta changing their what's the word? Exactly was because of the change of government. So can you just give me some specific examples where fact-checking has played a vital role during political campaigns?
Okay, so hearing that question, what comes to mind is debate. All these political debates when it's time for when they're campaigning. Gubernatorial debates, presidential debates. That's if you recall, sometimes in 2023, when we're trying to prepare for the election, fact-checking actually played a vital role, so much so that the candidates themselves were on edge. So they were actually watching what they were saying. They weren't really proclaiming words. They weren't proclaiming numbers, because they know that there are people actually waiting to hear verify their information. So that for me is actually something very tangible. Is very important for you, for political or public office holders to know that, okay, people are actually waiting for me to say something, and then they'll pick it up and to verify whether it's accurate or not. So that's a very important part when it comes to fact-checking, and how fact-checking plays a role in politics, literally.
Okay, so now you mentioned that the fact-checking that happened during the heat of the 2023 general elections made the candidate to be on edge. But you understand, like, what challenges do fact-checkers face when fact-checking, dealing with high-profile figures, like, for example, like Trump and other top candidates in the Nigerian space also?
I would say that most especially for president, so someone like President Trump he doesn't care. He doesn't care. You know, it's like it's a let me do what I want to do, whatever. I don't
let me see what I want to say.
A lackadaisical nature. It's not his problem. He just wants to get the job done, right? So there's no repercussion in any way. There's no one checking and balancing some of these people. But when it comes to the Nigerian, aspect, I think in a way, most of our political leaders are still, they still have, let me use the word fear of God to say that, okay, we know that this thing is false, so let's try to see how to patch these things. So they understand that if what they've done is actually wrong, so they try to see how to maneuver the situation, not to make it seem like it's actually wrong. But when it comes to certain high-profile individuals, some of these people do not really care what happens. Whether fact-checking survives, whether it doesn't, is actually none of their business.
How do you think journalists and media organizations can improve their credibility in the eyes of the public?
It's actually very important, because I think one of the issues that birthed fact-checking has been the fact that citizens have actually lack trust in the media. And the media has been saddled with the responsibility of giving news, I think giving people up-to-date information on what's happening within the information ecosystem. But then, because of the fact that there's misinformation, proliferation of the media and all of those things, there's lack of trust with the media in general. But what I always want to see the media do to regain credibility or to regain trust from citizens is to be transparent. So when they are transparent, you're showing your sources. I know that sometimes you don't need to, you're being gagged to show exactly, or to when you speak to some certain people about a particular trying to put out the news and you speak to some certain people, they might not want to disclose themselves, right? I understand that fact. But in cases where you can, you should be able to at least show your sources. Let's know where you have actually gathered this news. Transparency, just be open. That way, the citizens can be aware, and they can even understand that, okay, yeah, this person is being transparent, and they trust you more. Another thing is also accountability. We've seen situations where we have media houses put out a certain information or a news, and then there's an error somewhere, but they don't really want to retrace their steps. So media houses needs to be accountable, just like fact-checking is. So in fact-checking now, if we make an error, we put out a disclaimer to say that, okay, something went wrong, then we correct that information. But media houses do not do these things. So which causes lack of trust within the media and the citizen. So it's important that they are accountable. It's important that they don't use sensational headlines. I mean, that's what media uses to, clickbait people. So I'll give an example. I think sometimes 2 years ago we did a fact check piece, and it has to do with the headline was breaking news: Buhari shot dead. For a layman, seeing that name Buhari, we know that Buhari was the president as of that time. His intuition would be like, oh, Buhari, we know President Buhari is shot dead. How? That's clickbaiting your audience. By the time we then fact check, we went through this to realize that the Buhari they were even talking about was somewhere in Edo State, not the main President Buhari, but somebody else might see that news and say, oh, Buhari is dead, and from there picks it up and start sharing it. That's how misinformation is created. Disinformation, whichever, is created. So, the media houses need to learn or know how to not clickbait their audience in wanting them to read their article. And so last year, I think, was it last year? Yes, we went to Edo State to train journalists in fact checking. And then could you believe that the person who actually wrote that story was in the audience, was in our training? And by the time conversation started, we were like, why should you don't need to use that sort of headline. It was clickbaity. And he was arguing that, but they need to make their money. They need to make people read their story. But you're making people read your story, and then you're lacking credibility at the end of the day. You're losing trust. So you need to avoid sensational headlines. And they also, most importantly, need to stick to the ethical guidelines that surrounds journalism. When you know what the ethical guidelines are, you are able to not deviate from accurate reporting, which will help.
Okay, now shifting from fact-checking to media literacy. What role do you believe that media literacy plays in enhancing information resilience among the general public?
A media literate person would know how to consume information. Somebody who is media literate will know how to interact with information. Someone who is media literate will know where to get your news from, where your sources from. So it's very important that citizens understand what information is. Citizens understand where to get accurate information. So media literacy plays a very big role in ensuring that citizens know what to do when it comes to information. So it's sort of educating the public, sort of educating general public on what to do when they come across information, or what to do when they come across news. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So basically, it's a very important topic that we've actually been addressing these days. And away from fact checking, I think media literacy is just the main thing, is the in thing now. People, the audience, citizens need to understand how to interact with information. And now that Meta has stopped the third-party fact checking, we need to bring up media and information literacy. We need to take it to schools. We need to take it to young people. Everyone needs to be medially literate so that they can understand when they come across a piece of information that is not accurate or something that is biased in nature. They can understand and they can know how to interpret information.
Now it's time to address the elephant in the room: artificial intelligence, AI. So how do you see the future of fact-checking evolving, especially with advancements in technology and AI?
On the brighter side, I think AI is here to stay. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. It's just how we should know how to navigate and how to use it to our own advantage. In the future of fact-checking, I see AI playing a huge role. I see AI being used to analyze a lot of data, information. When it comes to fact checking, there sometimes you need to do some data works and you cannot manually analyze some of these things. So I see AI playing a very huge role in that regards. I see AI being used to critically analyze images that we don't really have access to now. I see AI being used to analyze videos, audios, that we don't really have good tools to, verify some of these things. So I see AI playing a huge role in verifying audio, verifying images deeper, verifying videos deeper. Say, for instance, now, Dubawa, we actually built a tool recently that has to do with a fact check
chatbots.
Yeah, the chatbots. Thank you. The chatbots actually is it's AI basically, because you feed in a message and it's giving you something else. So those are examples. We also have the AI audio that listens to words, listens to radio shows, radio programs, and translates it. That's artificial intelligence. It's helping you to manually do what you cannot, what will take you forever to do. So yeah, I see AI doing a lot in fact checking.
How important is collaboration among different media outlets in combating misinformation?
I would say collaboration increases trust. It's not something you can throw away. It's very important. It's what helps us, achieve our goal. We are all trying to achieve a certain goal. giving accurate information to our citizens, to our audiences, ensuring that they have timely information, and not only timely, verified information. So we need to collaborate, we need to work together to get this work done. One, it increase public trust. It will help people to say, they are not looking for their news in blog posts, they're not looking for their news in influencers. It increases readers. It increases readership, collaboration. So say for instance, I think towards the 2023 general election, we started the Nigerian Fact Checkers Coalition. Do you know how impactful that coalition was when it comes to getting our verified facts to the world? I mean, it was a very timely collaboration. So we need to put our resources together, financial resources, human resources. We need to pull all of this together because we are actually working for a collaborative goal. So if we don't work together, so that means we're working against each other. So working together makes our work faster, and also it makes the news or the information we're trying to put out to the audience, it makes it reach people faster. Just like if it doesn't even meet the pace of the first information, I mean, it goes faster when we are collaborating, when we are working together.
All right, thank you very much. So what advice would you give to listeners on how to identify misinformation in their daily media consumption?
One thing I always tell colleagues when we're speaking is skepticism is very important. I mean, I think being a fact checker has made me sort of skeptical about a lot of things. I'm always curious. I only want to know. If somebody shows me this, I need to go and check. I'm not always jumping at something, and I would take my time, look at that source, be sure whatever it is I'm actually interacting with is accurate. So you need to be skeptical. You need to check your source. You need to check where you're getting your information from. You need to check the platform. You need to be sure of the dates. Is it outdated? Is what you're reading, is it outdated? You need to check a lot of things. You need to have a second intuition that helps you think, is this actually, can this be true? That helps you ask that question all the time, can this be true? Away from your own confirmation bias. So you need to always be skeptical when it comes to the information ecosystem.
Okay, so now, how do you handle pushback or criticism? When you fact check some individuals like Trump or public figures, you definitely be criticized. So how do you handle pushback or criticism from individuals or organizations whose claims you've debunked?
Oh, I mean, when it comes to criticism, no be today. You get a lot of backlash, especially when it's not conforming to what they already know. There is always a problem. There will always be a problem. I mean, I'm going to use my organization again as an example. We've done a lot of fact checks and we're getting DMs. We're getting this one, you're on serious. Even with this Meta fact-checking partnership, we've got DMs, we've got threats to my colleagues. We've got threats that you have, a lot of threats, But then, you're doing this work for their good. You're not against them. You're just against lies. You're helping. But they don't really see that. They think you're being politically biased. They think you're being paid by a certain group of people, being influenced by a certain group of people. But that's not the case. So when we most times come across, criticism, pushbacks, and all of this, one thing we do, we're always relaxed. I think that's one thing you need to do, because you cannot attack for attack. You need to be calm. You need to be really calm. So you first of all, take in a deep breath, think about it. So what exactly is this person's situation? Analyze the situation. And then when you realize that, okay, you've done your due diligence, your fact check is right, you need to explain to whoever it is, whoever is criticizing your work, let them see the reason. And most times they don't usually see the reason. We have courses online that citizens, individuals would take to learn about fact-checking, misinformation. There's political facts. I mean, the resources are out there so much. There are books that you could read on misinformation, fact-checking. It's open sources, so you could get all this.
In addition to what she said, you can also check out the Fact Checker app to verify information, and you can also play trivia games that get it right to understand what's fake and what's true. So thank you very much, Temilade, for being our guest on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Okay. Yes, it was indeed. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fact Finders. We've explored the implications of Donald Trump's second term on media credibility and fact-checking efforts. As misinformation continues to proliferate, it's crucial for all of us, journalists, fact-checkers, and citizens, to remain vigilant and committed to seeking out the truth. If you found today's discussion valuable, kindly subscribe to our podcast and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Connect with us on social media at The Fact Checkup on all social media platforms. Join us next time as we continue to navigate the ever-evolving landscape of information and misinformation. Until then, stay informed and keep questioning the narratives around you. Bye.